Imagine walking out to conquer the world, only to be declared mentally unfit by your own doctors. Before Brazil even landed in Sweden, they ran a state-of-the-art psychological test. The head doctor looked at the results and trembled. He declared that a 17-year-old child named Pelé was too infantile to play and lacked any fighting spirit. As for Garrincha, the diagnosis was even worse. He claimed the boy was literally incapable of understanding football tactics. He demanded both be dropped immediately, but the coach ignored the science. He told the doctor, "You might be right, but you don't know football." Two outcasts were about to make history, but as the final approached, a sudden crisis paralyzed the team. Both Brazil and Sweden wore identical yellow shirts. As the hosts, Sweden had the right to wear yellow. Brazil had to find new shirts fast. Red was proposed, but the players refused, saying it was a communist color. In a panic, Brazilian officials ran into a local Stockholm store and bought cheap, blank blue jerseys. The players wept, thinking it was a bad omen. That's when Coach Faiola stepped in, holding a blue fabric. "Boys, blue is the color of Our Lady of Aparecida. You are not wearing a curse. You are wearing her direct protection." That night, they hand-sewed the national badges onto the cheap cotton. June 29th, 1958. Rosunda Stadium, 50,000 Swedish fans, screaming for blood. And in just 4 minutes, the worst nightmare came to life. Swedish captain Niels Lidholm escapes a slide tackle, cuts inside, and fires a clinical low shot into the corner. 1-0. Brazil had never trailed in this tournament. The stadium went absolute static, the ghost of their 1950 tragedy, when they lost the home final, loomed over the pitch. But while others panicked, the Brazilian playmaker Didi calmly walked into the net, picked up the football, and said, "Don't worry, we are much better than them. Let's go." Then, the dance began. Mané Garrincha, born with a spine twisted like an S, and one leg 3 inches shorter than the other. Biomechanically, he shouldn't have been able to walk. But on the football pitch, he was a cheat code. He isolated the Swedish left back, danced left, faked right, and left him literally sitting on the wet grass. He whipped a devastating low cross, and Vava slid hard to poke it in. 1-1. 20 minutes later, copy-paste. Garrincha destroys the defender again. Another impossible cross, and Vava strikes again. 2-1. The Swedish defense was physically healthy, but mentally, Garrincha had broken their brains. Europe didn't just play football, they played massive psychological games. To crush the Brazilians, Sweden deployed a secret choreographed sound weapon. They hired official cheerleaders with giant megaphones. They stood on the athletic track, orchestrating 50,000 fans into a militaristic, deafening wall of coordinated noise. The Brazilians, used to loose, natural celebrations, were terrified. Brazil filed a formal complaint to FIFA, demanding these sound conductors be banned from the pitch. FIFA agreed. But as the match started, the stadium defied the ban, screaming in robotic unison. But playmaker Didi just smiled at Pelé and said, "Listen to that. That is not noise. That is just the rhythm for our samba." Then came minute 55. The moment that changed football history forever. The ball is launched high into the Swedish penalty box. A 17-year-old child, Pelé, traps it on his chest. A giant defender lunges to crush him. In one fraction of a second, instead of shooting, Pelé takes a soft, absolute touch. He lobs the football cleanly over the defender's head. The defender spins in vain, chasing a ghost. Pelé lets the ball fall, and before it touches the grass, He strikes a devastating volley into the bottom corner. In 55 minutes, a boy from the slums became the king. The final whistle blows. The trauma of 1950, when an entire nation wept from heartbreak, was finally buried forever in the Swedish grass. And the 17-year-old child, who was declared too infantile to play, collapsed onto the grass, sobbing uncontrollably. The physical and emotional weight of a whole nation had rested on his tiny shoulders. His teammates lifted him up, carrying the tears of the new king across the pitch of Rosunda. The final whistle blows. The trauma of 1950, when an entire nation wept from heartbreak, was finally buried forever in the Swedish grass. And the 17-year-old child, who was declared too infantile to play, collapsed onto the grass, sobbing uncontrollably. The physical and emotional weight of a whole nation had rested on his tiny shoulders. His teammates lifted him up, carrying the tears of the new king across the pitch of Rosunda. Against the advice of science, two outcasts conquered the globe. Brazil had finally earned their crown. But the golden era was about to face a suspicious storm. Next time, we go to Chile, 1962. A tournament so brutal, it turned football matches into street riots and featured the most violent game in World Cup history.